Ladies and gentlemen, we are live today, episode 150. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff here. We're going to, of course, talk about the COVID. You have to. I already censored the show now because I said that. And then we got some Qanon stuff and some UFO news. And we got a special guest joining us to help break a little bit of this down. Up next on Talk is Cheap. Stay tuned. Yes. Welcome to Talk is Cheap, where cheap is talk and talk is 150, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we are streaming live on YouTube, DLive, and Twitch. You can always subscribe to the audio podcast and listen to us after the fact. Got to give a shout out to those podcast listeners. I think the audio is a little superior at times. And of course, if we ever go down, we are on BitChute, DTube, and LBRY. We also get mirrored over there too, and you can share the show, I guess, as well. Over here to my left is Pete Hulbleib.
Hey, Planet Earth and Beyond. How's it going? Dano, I want to say you look just dapper tonight, man. Fuck you.
Bringing it back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Beep. Man, oh man, you just like really outdo me every show, man.
You had a blazer once. I want to see it again.
Oh, I'll bring it out next time. How's that sound? Or sometime coming up.
Yeah, you got to think ahead on these.
Yeah, you do.
Special thanks out to Biker Babe. Pete, she did send in a donation because you did that episode that she requested. So.
Awesome. Biker Babe is just so cool, man. It was awesome to meet her out at ESETI, and she's hardcore. Love her.
So she did that. She bought a mug. Very appreciative. And also, special thanks to our Patreon supporters, Athena and Jeremy. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Sometimes I feel down in the dumps about, with the censorship and all that stuff, and you guys keep me going. So,
I don't think we've met Jeremy, have we?
I've talked to him a lot. He comments on our Facebook page a lot.
Yep. I noticed that, but I don't think we met him in person. But Biker Babe and Athena, we both we had an opportunity to meet, and both of them super cool. Can't wait till next time.
Before we jump into the thing with our guest today, you said you had a UFO experience. Can you touch base real quick?
Yeah, real quick. So the Perseid meteor shower was going on, what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? I mean, I texted you like instantly when it happened. So what was that, about 3 weeks ago, Dan?
Yeah.
And the Perseid meteor shower was going on. I live out in the country, big open sky, and we were spending some time outside. And I went inside to freshen my beverage. And when I came down, I was walking off the back deck stairs, and I just happened to look up, and I looked up, and here was what I thought was a satellite, and it was moving across the sky, and it was just like your classic power up, Dan. It was like it got bright, and then it flashed a few times, and then it went back down to like that, and then nothing, and then it just kind of disappeared, and I stopped, and part of me thinks, I could have been that meteor coming right at me or something. But I mean, I watched it track. It all happened in about a 3 to 4 second window. I just happened to look up. It was tracking, and then got really bright and big, and then back down to the normal size, and then gone.
It's a different experience when they light up, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny, Dan, you had said before, like at times you like go out and you kind of like want to will it. Yeah. And earlier that night I was like, come on, let me see one. And this was probably 20 minutes, half hour later, but it was so coincidental. I stopped in my tracks. First thing I did was say, Dan, I just saw my first power up. It was super cool.
Yeah, and I asked you, did you bring it in? And you never responded. So.
No, I didn't report it or anything like that. But that just goes to show, out of every one report, there's dozens of that go.
What's interesting is when I see them, it's mostly in the northeast sky. I've always tried to bring them out on the western sky. I never see them over there. It's always northeastern. I don't know why.
Right, and this one was directly above me, so I couldn't really put a cardinal direction on it, so to speak. It was just I happened to just look up. It was so crazy, but it was really cool. I can't wait for my next one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the Perseid meteor shower was awesome. We saw some really, really cool shooting stars.
So yes, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about the COVID stuff anymore but it is affecting our lives. And one person it is affecting here is Timmy from Savannah, Georgia, and he's joining us right now. Tim, what does it look like down in Savannah, Georgia with all this craziness?
What's up, everybody? Great to be here. What does it look like? Well, it's not what you see on TV, for sure. Down here, it's kind of like business as usual. You know, you gotta wear the mask just because people go crazy, and that's kind of like what me and my girl have experienced.
Well, yeah. Well, I was looking at, I think it was, I wish I would have saved the article, but there was actually an article about Savannah, Georgia, where these guys are driving around in these gators, these golf cart things, and they're just supposed to like inform people about the COVID stuff if you're not wearing a mask and like really like call you out. But you said you haven't seen that, right?
I haven't seen any of that. All I've seen is me and my girl like doing our thing, going to work every day, getting the job done, and that's that. You're like, it's weird. It's weird. What you see on TV is not what's going on.
So, Tim, would you say that the majority of people are wearing masks and following the social distancing guidelines, or not?
Well, it kind of depends on the place.
Sure. Okay.
I've got a rad punk rock bar up the street called the Wormhole, and nobody's wearing masks in there. No big deal. Whatever. But it's like the grocery stores, and like I went and got wings the other day, and I put the mask on just because I don't want to cause an issue, and I don't want my food to get spit in. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it was like slightly off my nose, and she's like, "You need to pull that up over your nose." So I said, "Oh, no problem, sweetheart. No problem. No problem." But that's kind of the weirdness of what we're dealing with these days.
So you'll find some establishments that are really hardcore with the mask wearing, social distancing, and others that are just don't care.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's kind of like people. Until you're affected by it, when somebody starts giving you trouble on social media, which is like kind of what we experienced, from a undisclosed business. If you want me to tell the story.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try and do the cliff notes and make it fast. My girl...
Yeah, you don't have to give away too much information. Just in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, a dude came in and took a picture of my girl behind the counter not wearing a mask, okay, and plastered it on Yelp, started conversations on Reddit, went to TripAdvisor, put it all over the place, and all she was doing, and she still does wear it. She does it, but she wasn't working with food. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was counting money and putting it into the till, you know. But this person, kind of sought us out and tried to cause a problem for our business. And I think that's happening all over America.
Oh yeah,
these mask vigilantes, right?
Yeah. Well, Cuomo came down from New York and met with our mayor. Okay, and they had
Oh my goodness.
And he's like, they basically told the public because the governor of Georgia dismissed it and said, "Look, this is not a requirement." So he met with Cuomo and then told people basically to be the police and basically F with people.
Yeah, and also
that's exactly what happened.
Mr. Wear Your Mask not wearing a mask.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mr. Wear Your Mask.
I believe that was down there where he was doing that. He was hugging everybody. Yeah. So all this is about getting everybody to police each other and, really creating a bad environment.
Yeah, that will never end well with the divisiveness that revolves around all things mask wearing.
Oh, if you can keep people divided,
yep,
they can't come together.
So.
Yep.
Divide, stay in your house, get no vitamin D, because, by the way, all you gotta do is go outside.
Yeah, which they don't want you to do.
No, yeah, funny how that works, huh?
So there was that one, and one prior to that, the only other COVID story I got for you guys. a very cute American family came in to our place of business, and they all had American shirts on, and their kid had American shirts. So my girl's like, that's a really cute picture. I'm gonna take a picture of that. She put it on Instagram. Within an hour, somebody came at us and said, "This is disrespectful. This is you should not be posting pictures like this." Posting pictures like what? It's a cute American family. But you know what we had to do? Conform, delete it, and let the news story roll. Because this is our livelihood. You know what I mean? Like, we can't risk, like, causing a fight. Which is why I haven't talked about it. Because that was around 4th of July is when they came in. So I haven't talked about it. But I think this type of bull is basically happening everywhere.
Yeah, you can't be patriotic anymore without causing a ruckus. Like, that's triggering these days.
It is, and it's crazy. And really, what it comes down to is we could solve everybody's problems if people just treated other people like they want to be treated. Damn, how hard is that?
Yeah. Golden rule, right? And
yeah. And you know, your one mistake that you made is you put something on the internet, because nowadays, no matter, you could put a picture on the internet of puppies playing on rainbows eating cotton candy, and somebody will be offended
for some reason. You know what I mean?
There we go, man.
They'll find a reason for anything. Somebody always wants to, like, get the bigger story and get attention. When so many bigger problems going on, it's like, blah blah blah.
Yeah. But let's pick on somebody putting a picture of a family that has some American pride on the internet, and ignore the rampant pedophilia that's going on in the country, right?
Exactly. But it's 9/11, so I don't know. It's a crazy day. A lot of stuff's going on.
Yeah, it sure is.
I think stuff's gonna come out. Hopefully, we'll see after the election. I really do think that maybe it will come forward. I hope Trump listens to the Architects for Engineers with the new documentary 7 coming out from the dude that did Loose Change.
Yeah. Nice.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
What's the name of that one?
It's called 7.
Okay.
The dude, Ed Asner, he was on the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Yeah.
Got like a really good speaking voice. He narrates it all. So he already
Ed Asner on MASH.
They've already scrubbed the one that they put out on the internet about Building 7. But it's like it's so blatant. It's so, like, obviously these aren't like crazy, like, punk rock kids like me that are like conspiracy theorists. These are like people that are architects. These are professional engineers.
Yeah.
They're saying this is not what happened. What happened? And I think it needs to happen. It needs a story still is apparent today, and it's the biggest one, because since then, what happened the day after 9/11? Patriot Act came out. We went to a fake war, and
take our freedoms quick.
Doing it again.
It's happening now with COVID, with the Agenda 201 or whatever that crap was that they did. They're already planning this stuff. It's kind of the same thing. They're all false flags.
Yep.
All right,
Tim, we're going to have to sign off. We got a whole show here to do.
Yeah. It's great to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to join everybody in the chat room.
I totally will. Can I give a quick shout out?
Go for it.
So my Aunt Judy, she's like a true Patriot Q supporter. She emails like my whole family all the time. And like tries to get people like woken up, and I think if everybody did something like that, we'd be better, because people just don't have the time all day because they're busy with their lives and all this BS and they're believing what's on the clowns news network.
All right, shout out to Aunt Judy then. Awesome.
Yeah. And my parents and my sisters and my brother. All right. Peace, guys.
Peace out.
Take care, Savannah, Timmy.
Right. And my girl, Jessica. I love her. Bye.
Right on.
Timmy from Savannah, Georgia.
Dude, Timmy's always a fun one to have on the show. I like talking with him.
Yeah, he's cool shit. Okay, so let's keep this COVID track going. Now, article, bam, the devil's in the details. CDC details. Only 6% of the so-called COVID deaths are caused by COVID alone. We've been saying this. We've been saying it. And here it comes. The tinfoil hat people were right.
Yeah, I don't think
But they
this
don't
is
talk
that
about
big
this.
of a surprise. No.
But they don't talk about this.
You know, there was an interesting, I'm a big NPR fan, or WPR, Wisconsin Public Radio, National Public Radio fan. And they did a show on this 6%. And they had, of course, had their expert debunking this. Okay. You know, they made a couple of interesting points that, you know, hey, if you die of pneumonia, but it was caused by COVID, you'll have, you know, death by pneumonia and COVID, you know, you tested positive for COVID. So I think that there needs to be a little bit additional parsing out of this 6%. I think the pendulum swung a little bit too much toward the 6%, but I think the point is valid in that a lot of these people that are dying from COVID have underlying medical conditions that the COVID, when they caught it, maybe just nudged them, and they were going to be dead within a year or very short time. But
underlying issues.
And you know what, Dan, you and I have been talking about this for a long time, is that if somebody, you know, they were putting, somebody died in a car accident, somebody had a heart attack, they had COVID antibodies in them, and they marked that down as a cause of death, right? So, you know, I don't necessarily believe the numbers that were being told by the mass media as the number of deaths, but I also look at the 6% a little skeptically. It's somewhere in between that, but you're absolutely right in saying that we are not seeing the COVID death numbers. I saw an interesting number when colleges started going back in. 11,000 students tested positive for COVID. 0 hospitalizations.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You might as well be
Cases.
testing for the damn common cold.
And it's like, at some point, these tests are not accurate.
Yeah.
But we're still putting them.
That's another thing too. The accuracy of the tests, they're just flying. All these new tests coming out. They're not, you know, they're shortcutting approval methods. Who the crap knows? Wasn't it a mango tested positive for COVID or something?
Pawpaw is actually what the official was.
Yeah, or something like that.
And a goat. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Can't make this shit up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Here's a news clip. Let's go ahead and play this.
On the coronavirus emergency and that shift by the CDC over when and if you should get tested. This as cases at colleges across the country are now climbing, and there are new worries about patients becoming reinfected. ABC's Trevor Alt joins us with the latest on this. And Trevor, this is all happening, of course, as flu season is now approaching.
Of course, Cecilia, it is a lot to juggle at the same time, and there is some good news this
Damn,
morning.
That guy's good looking,
man. The past week, the number of cases and deaths decreased substantially, but the CDC has now made this big change to its guidelines, saying people who don't have symptoms don't necessarily need to get tested, even if they've been exposed. And that's a bit of a jarring shift, as a number of schools and universities report big new outbreaks.
Overnight, a major change to the CDC COVID-19
Overnight?
guidelines. Now saying
this,
if you have no symptoms, you don't necessarily need a test, even if you may have been exposed. A direct shift from what Director Robert Redfield told ABC last month.
Anyone who thinks they may be infected, independent of symptoms, should get a test.
The update comes as cases rise at American colleges and universities. More than 530 at the University of Alabama, nearly 160 at the University of Missouri, and even at the University of Southern California, where classes are mostly online. School officials are warning of an alarming increase of 43 cases in off-campus housing.
People are throwing parties. I'm just hoping that students come to their senses.
In many school districts,
you can't do that. CP, you can't have parties anymore. You can't do anything.
Oh, they don't want you. Yeah,
this
right.
brings me back to when people say there was these younger kids that got tested and they came back positive, but they showed no symptoms. Like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have went to that party.
Yeah, right.
I'm not showing any symptoms.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing changes it, and yeah. See, oh god damn, that's the thing. You know, interesting kind of comment. You know, Wisconsin yesterday had its highest number of positive tests. Today was like 200 less than that. And it's interesting if they're only testing people with symptoms. It was like 14% of tests yesterday were tested positive. And normally we were God, what were we at? About 8%, 7%, somewhere like that. But if you're only testing people that are sick, you're going to have a higher percentage, right?
Yeah.
And what I really want to know is the number of hospitalizations. 4 people died yesterday in the state of Wisconsin.
It's obviously
from
not
COVID.
bad, because if it was, they would get that shit on film. So they got to focus on cases.
Yeah.
That's all they have.
Yeah. None of the hospitals are being taxed. Hospitalizations are way low, but we're getting a lot of positive tests. And there's my favorite guy.
Yeah, Mr. Bill here.
7 billion COVID tests, Bill. Let's do it.
Yeah, so basically this is going to
vaccines,
come down to really, this goes into the Covi Pass, but I'm going to lead this in here.
Big setback on one
How
of the
many
trials.
doses of the vaccine will we need?
Oh, I'm going to slap him.
Well, none of the vaccines at this point appear like they'll work with a single dose. That was the hope at the very beginning. Maybe one of them, particularly in the second generation, won't surprise us. We hope just 2, although in the elderly, sometimes it takes more. And so making sure we have lots of elderly people in the trial will give us that data. Well, it's very hard to characterize complex scientific things in a sort of simple to understand format. We don't.
So we're too stupid to understand it, Dan.
We don't know if they'll work to avoid deaths. We don't know if they'll work to avoid transmission. That's why we're working on so many first-generation vaccines and a whole bunch of second-generation vaccines that, although they'll take more time, they are more likely to be extremely effective. It's great the U.S. government has been willing to fund vaccine manufacturers.
Moderna's not on there.
Is partnered
That's a good point.
with them on that. That's something in my regular phone calls with Dr. Fauci. We update each other on, okay, how are we working with various companies? Which ones do we
Fauci,
think
back pocket.
we need to
What makes
add to the
Bill
mix
Gates-
there? What is the scalability going to be so that not just the U.S., but the entire world gets the vaccine? But in 2021, probably in the first half, we're going to get some good vaccine tools, and that'll be a big milestone. There'll be a lot of uncertainty about how good these vaccines are. The first generation, they said a 50% effectiveness, and they won't know the duration there. So these are going to be likely partial solutions that will improve over time. And so it's too bad, people think that just that phase 3 approval will be the end of the epidemic.
Oh, it's
Well,
going to
I
go
wanna
on
ask you-
forever and ever and ever and ever, ladies and gentlemen. And you got to have multiple shots.
Yeah.
It's not enough to stick you once.
Yeah, keep
Let's get 'em
going, keep
again.
going. And, James, I'm looking at the chat here. James, I totally agree with you. Why the hell are we listening to a tech guy about medical things? F this guy, man. You summed it up perfectly there. What makes him an expert? How did he even get involved? Besides the fact that he wants to reduce the world's population, which is a huge conflict of interest here, buddy.
Totally.
Let it go, Bill. Bill should be saying, "Hey, let it go. Reduce the world population."
And then he was responsible for this too. UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan caused by oral vaccine.
Is it a new oral vaccine? Probably, maybe. Boy, that kid looks like he's having fun.
Oh my God. This is just how it's becoming. It's like you have no rights over your body.
Well,
this down,
when we
dude.
talked about medical experiments and stuff, we talked about how they do this crap to these third world countries because they don't have the wherewithal to protect themselves of these international medical
that's
aggressors.
What Bill Gates says. See, we got to get to the blacks first.
Oh, yeah. Right? Because they've been here forever for us to do whatever we want. I'm deeply, deeply troubled, Dan, with Bill Gates involved in this, his history, his associations, and this whole thing's messed up. And I kind of whispered to you while we were listening to that, asking, where the hell's Moderna in all this? We just did a whole show on that. They got the most money, $1 billion from America, and they're not even in phase 3 yet. They weren't even mentioned.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yet
Took the money and run, maybe?
Yeah. The president and CEO of Moderna increased their personal wealth by 8 million% and are the newest billionaires on the planet.
So all this kind of leads into the Covi Pass. Now, the Covi Pass is a digital passport.
Is that going to be a thing now?
Yeah, I'm going to read this video because there's no voiceover, so I got a voiceover. I'll do my best, folks. But again, Covi Pass, you're going to have a digital passport on your phone saying if you got the vaccine or not. This is scary stuff because you won't be able to board a plane. You know, you won't be able to go into an event, and then eventually they'll do this to the grocery stores too. You know, you don't have the Covi Pass, you can't enter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I really think, is what the mask, everybody wearing masks, is get everybody trained to this, and then they'll shift to this.
Yeah, you know, it's a stepping stone, right, for just, you know, more control. Stay inside, you know, for when the environment becomes so untenable outside, we got to rely on these biodomes to survive.
All right, so it says this app could help. Oh, yeah, this help could help revive global travel and large events during the pandemic, enabling people to visit countries, conferences, sport events safely. Users will have their blood screened at approved Covi Pass laboratory before being issued with a secure QR health visa code via their phone, which they can present at airline check-in, borders, or event entrances. The digital passport doesn't include tracing preserving data privacy. Yeah, we'll preserve your data. Right?
Whatever.
Covi Pass creators say that using the blood test is 100% reliable and could ensure only non-infectious people travel across borders, while monitoring access to concerts, conferences, and pilgrimages. It's users' real-time automated epidemiological data and blank. I went too fast now.
Yeah.
That could help countries manage future waves of COVID and other epidemics.
All right, so first blush, Dan, the nice thing about this is it's not a requirement that you have the vaccine. It's just that you're not and
that's how this is going to go. It's not that they're going to require everybody to have a vaccine. It's you won't be able to travel and shit like this.
Well, if you've tested positive, then you'll be required to. But they can cook the data too, you know, and say, oh, you've got it, you know. I don't like the fact that they want you to give your blood. I mean, that's not cool.
Oh, they take your blood at birth now.
Yeah, right away.
So,
boom. Yep. Yeah, I'm not a real fan of people sticking me with stuff unless you absolutely need it. Future waves of COVID-19, and we're gonna have we're gonna have a vaccine, Dan. Why are we talking future waves?
Future waves without the need for a total lockdown, because you know it inconvenienced everybody. So now here we go. We got a solution. Covi Pass plans to launch in September.
Ooh, any day now.
It commits to mandatory carbon offsetting for each of its passes. That's where this is going.
Oh, yeah.
Is about the carbon footprint, because they'll be able to bring the travel down. International drivers are predicted to be down by 78% in 2020.
I believe that.
Airline passengers' demand may not recover until 2024. While millions of jobs in tourism are
at risk. our rebranded slaves are not able to make money for the powerful, so we got to get them back out. It's all about the economy, Dan. These rich people aren't making money fast enough, Dan.
Covi Pass will help revive tourism and entertainment securely and safely. Oh, isn't it so great, everybody? We got a Covi Pass. You can get in places. Oh, God. Isn't it great, Pete?
So what do? You prick your finger and stick it on your phone?
No, well,
you got to go to some place.
Yeah, you got to go to a lab. They'll test your blood. And then, you're tested negative. We'll put it on your Covi Pass. Bam.
And then how good is that Covi Pass for?
I'm sure
a week, 2 weeks?
It's going to tie in with the tracking. So if you come in close to somebody that has COVID, and it'll say you got to get retested.
Yep. Oh, sure, right?
So it's all about tracking and tracing and
telling you what you can do. But they said they weren't
going
to track you for data, though. You know how that...
That's just a... Doesn't even...
No,
not even true,
why wouldn't... Yeah, why would they not? Why would they do that? You're right, Dan. That's like foolish to believe that.
And while we're at it, I'm going to bring this video up, the Elon Musk brain chips, because why not, ladies and gentlemen? Stick this in your head. It's no big deal.
Oh, they've been doing this for decades already behind the scenes.
He finally marketed this with pig things, and here, I just cut the best part out here.
This is our little device. It does, that thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place, because they're just like little fine wires. So in terms of getting a link, like I said,
Oh, they're going to drill a hole in
essentially,
your head?
You open a piece of skull.
Yeah.
You
just
remove
like that.
about a coin-sized piece of skull.
No big deal.
And then the robot inserts the electrodes. We'll talk more about that later. Then the device replaces the portion of skull that was removed. And we basically close that up with actually super glue, which is how a lot of wounds are closed. And then you can just walk around right afterwards. It's pretty cool. What we're, I mean, it's more complicated than this, but it's, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
No big deal.
So, and it's also got all the things that you would expect to see, the sensors you'd expect to see in a smartwatch or a phone, like inertial measurement, temperature, pressure.
That's some serious commitment.
That this device could do related to monitoring your health and warning you about a possible heart attack or stroke or other damage, as well as sort of convenience features like playing music. You could do a lot.
Pipe
sort of like
music directly into your
phone went at
skull.
brain
You
or
don't want to
something.
bother anybody.
So this is the
And we actually
device.
ultimately want
Yeah,
this
it
robot
drills
to
a
do
hole.
essentially the entire surgery. So in everything from incision, removing the skull, inserting the electrodes. And we feel confident about getting the link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour.
Under an hour, in and out, Pete. How do you like that? Just sign up.
Unless this thing can make me like look at a piece of paper and memorize it instantly, I'm not interested, man.
That's kind of, you bring up my point. Until there's a really good selling point where it's like, you're going to be smarter. You can get any job
I'm
you
all
want
about
because
becoming a
you're gonna know.
cyborg someday, but not like so I can track my heart rate and listen to music.
It's just that this is the. But what if you were paralyzed, and what if they say you could put this brain chip in, your legs will work again?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Go for it.
That's what they're going to. How they're going to sell it first.
Yep, absolutely. They're already doing this to a degree behind the scenes and stuff, and probably way further than Mr. Musk is onto. You look at the military, and these black projects are decades ahead of what we're being told is out there.
But this leads me back to the COVID stuff now, because now the WHO director says we can't go back to normal. This is a clip from the No Agenda show. I pulled this off.
I don't believe
the World Health Organization, Dr. Professor Tedros, MD, is also very, very concerned about the future. Hey, people, the vaccine is not just going to do it, okay? You're really going to have to change your behavior.
Several countries around the world are now experiencing fresh outbreaks after a long period with little or no transmission. These countries are a cautionary tale for those that are now seeing a downward trend in cases.
There's no outbreaks anywhere. There's increased cases, but there's no outbreaks. Hospitals are not filling up in any country that I know of.
Progress does not mean victory. The fact remains that most people remain susceptible to this virus.
We might as well be like tracking canker sores, at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this guy's got a canker sore, it doesn't affect him and he's not going to the hospital.
Well,
it's a pandemic.
It just leads into, so that now that everybody's so crazed about this, our mask's going to become normal, and it's like, it's flu season, you better put a mask on because everybody's so freaking scared of everything.
Yeah, well, scared is the right word. And it creates more discourse and opposition within the population. So again, we're all pissed off at each other. We're doing what the man's telling us, and and in the meantime, they're doing all sorts of awful things at very high levels that they can get away with because we're as Savannah Timmy said, hey, they're harassing me on Instagram. Yeah, well, that's really important thing to do these days.
It is.
That's why it's vital that countries are able to quickly identify and prevent clusters to prevent community transmission and the possibility of new restrictions. No country can just ride this out until we have a vaccine. A vaccine will be a vital tool, and we hope that we will have one as soon as possible. But there is no guarantee that we will. And even if we do have a vaccine, it wouldn't end the pandemic on its own. We must all learn to control and manage this virus using the tools we have now.
You know, the ones like, shut up, slave, put on the muzzle, stay home.
And to make the adjustments to our daily lives that are needed to keep ourselves and each other safe. We cannot go back to the way things were.
That's a scary statement.
Yeah, it is.
Coming from the WHO like that.
Yeah, well, I don't, me personally, the WHO's all corrupt anyway.
It is, but like
not very many people.
It's basically was supposed to be the whole UN running everything with all the countries. So that was the tip of the spear for them.
Throughout history, outbreaks and pandemics have changed economies and societies. This one will be no different. In particular, the pandemic has given new impetus to the need to accelerate efforts to respond to climate change. The pandemic has given us a glimpse of our world as it could be. Cleaner skies and rivers.
Here it comes. Exactly what we expected.
There it is. Climate change.
Tie
that right in.
Yep. And, we did a rewilding episode, I believe we did, or at least we've mentioned it before years ago on this show. And I think I'm going to do another one because when you talk about New World Order and the agenda out there, the global agenda, there's this whole rewilding of the planet that they want to do to help replenish resources so that they can consume
Well, this
them.
is Agenda 2030 now.
Yeah. They want to bring you into these urban centers. You're much more easily controlled. They get you out of the rural areas so that they can kind of go back, do what they want, and then let those resources replenish themselves. And think about it, Dan. This is like, come in and wear your mask and stay indoors. And if you're stuck out in the country, we have really great, social distancing movie theaters and restaurants now. Come to the city, move here, and stuff like that. It's like it fits in with so many other kind of things we've talked about, And he said the pandemic, former pandemics have changed society and economics. This is no different. What they're trying to do now is change the society and the economics to benefit themselves. Whoever the host was, shut up,
Adam
slave.
Curry.
Put your muzzle on and stay home, right? Yeah,
Conform.
there you go. Yep.
So Bill Gates was also asked, how do you stop this disinformation? Hydroxychloroquine is not safe. Listen to this shit.
I don't know.
There's a lot
that.
of bad information about therapeutics out there. Debunk some of the myths for us.
Debunk some of the myths.
Hydroxychloroquine being one of them.
Well, this is an age of science, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way.
Answer the question, Bill.
Just the idea is about testing and hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, he's still stuttering, man.
Quite clear. It got confused because.
By the way,
he didn't answer the damn question.
By the way, when Bill Gates goes, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
No. Are quite clear. It got confused because the trials were done so poorly, but there's lots of good things coming in the therapeutic area that are, really proven to work without the severe side effects. So, a little bit slow, but a lot of good news to come in that domain.
Well, that's not a debunking at all, because he knows he can't debunk it. And he's trying to be kind of, non-committal.
Yeah, it's true that
he didn't say it didn't work. He said something about side effects, but hydrochloroquine
because it works
has been prescribed for decades leading up to this pandemic. I'm going to air quote it. It's been used in so many different scenarios, and now all of a sudden it's bad. Can't use it, but we can stick it in everybody that's got malaria, and it's just fine. Well,
now it's so bad. I guess even if a doctor prescribes it, the pharmacist won't fill the order. That's how bad this whole psychology thing has gotten. God. So it's ridiculous.
We should figure out how to make some of that.
That's what I was going to say. If anybody's got it like a supply, it'd be good to have some of that.
Or a recipe.
You could probably, that's a good point. throw it in a pot and mix it up in the blender.
Yep, just like some good.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
So now one of the things I want to talk about here is I was looking, these were some tweets. These World Bank records saying that COVID-19 test kits were exported in 2018. And you come down here and you look at the graphic that they had on screen. It's got, I think I got it saved over here. Yeah, so they got export, you got these countries, and then they got the product code, and then it says COVID-19 test kit, and then they got the year 2018. So red flag immediately. But what I did is I did some research and used the Wayback, what do you call it? The Google Wayback machine.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can look at older websites and see where it's at. Oh, I just lost my graphic for some reason. Oh, because it changed it. This is the actual right here. Because people were saying it changed. Now it says, oh, this one still says COVID-19. Oh, damn it.
Well, it's a live show, Dan. Stuff like this happens.
Oh, next website. Here it is. So you look at it today. This is what you get. It just says medical test kits. They changed it.
Oh.
So, but when I used the Wayback machine, it showed that all this data was
Is the
published.
product code the same? Go back.
What we got 300, 215.
Yeah. It's just on the other website. Click on the other.
300, 215. Yeah.
There it is.
Same thing.
Yeah, of course they're going to scramble and change that, right? They can't admit that they had a test kit long before the viral outbreak.
Well, I think we got to watch ourselves here because it's easy to jump the gun. But when I used the Wayback machine, it showed that this site was published this last month here.
Oh.
So is somebody, when they put the data in, they just wrote COVID-19
just to mess with us. So good call there. Little disinformation maybe.
So yeah, you got to watch out for that. And also in the same tweet, and I want to talk about this too, is that CARES Act, HR 743 CARES Act that was signed into, this was just signed. Well, the issue is that it was introduced 1/24/2019.
Yeah.
And the fact is, the title says this bill is response to the COVID-19.
So a full year before an actual outbreak.
But I used the Wayback machine again. This is a good way to check stuff because now this is what it says here. It just says middle class health benefits tax repeal. So they used the same bill, but they changed the wording of it.
So we could totally have someone here that's just deliberately creating misinformation.
Well, no, it's I can see how people would do that though, because if you see this bill that says response to COVID-19, the CARES Act, and it was introduced 1/24, it doesn't make sense. But then it's like, so then like I said, use the Wayback machine, you can see what it originally was. So they changed the wording and all that.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So they updated the wording recently to use COVID as a reference, but the original bill was just a general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's we got to be really careful when you research to double check stuff like this. Again, Wayback machine, the Google is a very good source to do that. Again, do you trust Google? It is what it is.
Is it open? Is it still open?
The Wayback?
No, Google. I thought Google was open, right?
What do you mean it opened?
Well, wasn't
the search?
Yeah, the search wasn't Google search open. Is it still open? Is it still uncensored, if you will?
That's a good question. What should we type in?
I don't know. I'm not gonna
adrenochrome. I won't show it, but we can get an idea here. It is. Let's go to images. Well, you're getting some stuff. It's not like, I don't think it's like it was before with all this stuff that was in your face. But again, switch back, use other browsers if you're not getting results that you should be getting. So, okay, so that was that. Let's go ahead and anything left to cover on this before we transition over to
let's get off of COVID. We've done that enough. It's sad. It saddens
me,
man.
Buddy. Easy.
Settle down. Ooh, transition music.
Wild women, the ripping and the tearing.
Talk is cheap.
And talk is cheap. Okay, let's get to a couple things about QAnon here real quick. Trump was actually asked about QAnon. Finally, straight to his face. Cool. A reporter did it. Before we get into that, I want to show a different... I believe this other one was before it. Because the majority... Marjorie, thank you. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was a Georgia Congress primary winner. She supported QAnon. She retweeted that. And Trump was asked directly about it, like, why would you support it?
When was this? When?
I would say within the last couple weeks I've had these clips.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you, you congratulated Marjorie Taylor Greene in a tweet. You called her a future Republican star. Greene has been a proponent of the QAnon conspiracy theory. She said it's something that would be worth listening to. Do you agree with her on that?
Well, she did very well in the election. She won by a lot. She was very popular. She comes from a great state, and she had a tremendous victory. So, absolutely, I did congratulate her. Please, go ahead.
QAnon and her decision to embrace that conspiracy theory.
He pulled a Pence.
And I wanted to ask you, you congratulated Marjorie Taylor Greene.
He pulled a Pence, Pete.
Yeah, he's getting better at that.
Diverted the question
stuff. Or a Gates.
He didn't flinch once. So now this other one here is a little more direct, in your face. What should be asked.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate. Oh, yeah. But I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I've heard, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here, almost 4 years, can you believe it? These are people that don't like seeing what's going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other cities and states. And I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't like seeing it. So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me, and they also would like to see problems in these areas, like especially the areas that we're talking about, go away, because there's no reason the Democrats can't run a city. And if they can't, we will send in all of the federal, whether it's troops or law enforcement, whatever they'd like. We'll send them in. We'll straighten out their problem in 24 hours or less. Okay?
Well, just real quick, at the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but. Is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there. And we are, actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country. And when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow. The rest of the world would follow. That's the importance of this country. And when you look at some of the things that these people are saying with defund the police and no borders, open borders.
I'll stop it there. Right in your face. Satanic stuff. Yeah. And all that. So that was good there.
And I like his response. Would that be a bad thing? I mean, right? I mean, wish he go? You know, I wish he would have really come out and said something a little different there.
And all this is going mainstream. QAnon said that this stuff was going to happen and it was going to go mainstream like this. You're getting it in the newspapers, radicalizing Americans.
Yeah.
La Crosse Tribune put it in theirs.
Did they really? I saw you had something over there.
Let me get a close up on this. So here's our La Crosse Tribune front page. It's on the bottom here.
Upside
I
down.
highlighted it.
Yeah, there you go.
It says, conspiracy theories coloring state legislative races. QAnon emerges in some Midwest contests. Centered on the baseless belief that President Donald Trump is waging a secret campaign against enemies in the deep state and a child sex trafficking ring. Boom. So now it's in the open.
Yep.
They said that was going to happen.
Yep. Let's do it.
How do they like divert what they're doing? They put it in the open and deny that they're doing it. So
and talk about how ridiculous it is that it's not baseless, Dan. It's not baseless.
yeah, exactly. And that actually even Vice covered it, which is typically left wing. I will say the report was somewhat decent, but basically showing a lot of these people are, just a little bit whacked out and they're crazed.
Well, yeah, anytime you talk about topics that are not accepted by the mainstream, you're instantly labeled a loony and a wacko. So,
all right, with that, I'm gonna jump topics. Let's go into some of the UFO stuff to finish up.
Right on. UFOs, one of my favorite things. It's not nearly as depressing as COVID and pedophilia. So awesome.
There you go.
I thought you were a woman.
So TTSA Unidentified was the show that they ran with. Remember, TTSA is To the Stars Academy.
Yep.
This is the official government disclosure. And people get pissed that I cover this, but you have to because this is what's going on. And now I watched the whole second season.
Awesome. Is it still available on BitChute?
It was never on BitChute that I'm aware of.
I thought it was the first couple were on BitChute anyway.
It was Vimeo, I think.
Oh, was it Vimeo? All right, I stand corrected. I have not been keeping up.
I look at it elsewhere. I won't tell my sources.
Okay, you'll tell me offline so I can check it out because I do need to catch up on that.
But second season, it was all about, and I get so pissed when I watch this thing because it starts to get to be like, they keep going back to the Nimitz thing. I'm like, are you guys off this fucking Nimitz?
Yeah, come on.
Over and over.
Yeah, they keep pointing to it. That's terrible.
I think what it is just they want to just show that it's credibility because of the.
Well, and really, when I have UFO discussions, that's the instance that I talk about. I'm like, look, the Air Force, the Pentagon, mainstream media has talked about the Nimitz. They've got craft there they can't explain, and until we can get other examples of that, the Nimitz is that's your smoking gun right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. So,
or fortunately,
that whole second season was for like people like you and I and everybody in the audience here. It was useless until the last episode. If you're gonna watch that show, watch the last episode of the second season. Because it finally actually it was actually interesting because they brought up some topics that I wasn't like. They were talking about white triangles and stuff. I've never heard of white triangles. Oh. That was coming from a military source. Everything they do in that show talks about the military seeing it, so they have some credibility.
Yep.
And
they have the best opportunity to see it, right? They've got all the best equipment, things like that. Most eyes out there looking in the skies.
But that whole thing. Till that last episode, they finally got into the idea that this could be alien. And Chris Mellon, like that was the whole thing with TTSA. They didn't really want to talk much about alien, but they say it could be another one, a different country. But at the end, Chris Mellon basically says it's not ours. It's probably alien. Like
because we would have the best, right? Kind of thing.
But he can't even say that because if the compartmentalization, he doesn't know what they're doing. But for him to state that, tells me that
discount
that's the game
Russia,
plan.
man. Russia has always been quietly like in the forefront of many technological advances.
Because they were doing some, I think it was the episode before that, they were showing drones, which was kind of interesting in itself because they hooked lights to these drones and made it look like there were UFOs in the set.
Cool,
because they had a bunch and they all worked together.
Sure.
They made this, it looked like a spaceship. They actually had some people drive over because they seen it and they didn't know what it was. And stuff.
Cool.
So I could see that happening. So,
well, nowadays, every day that passes, the technology improves that we can be fooled that much easier. can't even believe anything you see on video anymore, Dan. It used to be show me a video. Now it's done.
It's really
unless
bad.
you're on an old reel-to-reel camera or something.
And
like
pictures mean absolutely nothing.
Yep. Yeah, nothing.
They used to say pictures worth 1,000 words.
Unless it's a film camera, man, you got to go old school. That's the only way anymore. Anything digital, don't believe it.
And then, of course, with all this happening, we got the establishment of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force.
UAP Task Force.
So this
what
happened
website
August
is this?
14th. This is
defense.gov. This
Yep.
is the actual government website, right?
So on August 4th, 2020, Deputy Secretary of Defense David L. Norquist approved the establishment of an Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon UAP Task Force to improve the understanding of and gain insight into the nature and origins of UAPs. The mission of the task force is to detect, analyze, and catalog UAPs that could potentially pose a threat to national security.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember they said it's not our, we were studying the UFOs with the ATIP, Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program. Luis Elizondo was in that. Closed at 2012. They shut it down.
Sure.
I don't know if another one's going or not. Well, now they're establishing another one.
Well, this
is the public one.
I was just gonna say this is what they developed for us because it's gained enough traction. But for anybody to think that there was any lapse in this study, they're just fooling themselves.
And with that, we got Jim Semivan. Remember, Jim Semivan is basically kind of running the TTSA group, if you will. I want to say he's kind of the shadow leader, but Luis Elizondo's kind of the front man.
Yep.
And then Jim Semivan was a guy, he was a spy in the CIA. This is quote, "The creation of the UAP task force marks a crucial turning point in the study of UAPs. TTSA fully expects more information on UAPs will soon begin to be released to the public. TTSA will continue to study any information that comes from the new DoD efforts, along with ongoing company collection and research efforts. A few TTSA officers were critical to the development of the UAP task force, and TTSA continues to pursue efforts for transparency."
Good.
Is it good though, Pete? This is the government front.
Well,
it's good, but it isn't. That's what
yeah,
I get.
it's better than what we've had, right? And if information is being released by TTSA through the Department of Defense, that's better than where we're at.
And you got to remember, by the way, Tom DeLonge, they've totally set him back. Like, he kind of used to be the star and everything.
Yeah, well, you know why?
In the second season,
because he was a damn rock and roll star with some money.
In the second season, I think maybe he showed up in there twice.
Yep.
Through the whole season.
He's not an expert. He's
not.
a musician.
And every time when they used to show, it was in the first season, a panel of experts, and it showed him. Every time I would laugh when I saw his face.
Because he's not an expert. No, and so they got wise to that and said, "Tom, thank you for your money. Thank you for your
popularity.
Your popularity. But why don't you go eat some?
Take a hike.
Yeah, go eat some cold cuts while the adults talk about this, right?"
And it's just, this is where the question comes in, because I always wondered if this was part of the Trump disclosure with the Space Force. And I don't think it is. I think these are two separate entities going at it, because Tom DeLonge has always been a supporter of Hillary Clinton. He said that. I broke it down a long time ago. These were in the Podesta emails from WikiLeaks. Now, here's another one that Tom DeLonge tweeted out here. He said, "Chris, you strategize so much of this. People need to know you are a hero." That's Chris Mellon. He's also in To the Stars Academy. And basically, Chris tweeted this: "It's enormously gratifying to see how far we have come since To the Stars Academy began engaging on the UAP issue in 2017. Kudos to also the New York Times." Oh, they're not working together. The Senate Intelligence Committee, and at Department Secretary of Defense Norquist. So, again, I think you got Jim Semivan kind of running it all from the shadows, and then you got Luis Elizondo, who's executing. He's the front man. He's the guy everybody. I even like him.
Well, yeah, he's the guy that comes in with the actual information and the know-how and what's really going on.
What's the word? Personable.
Yep.
Like when he talks, you on which side of the aisle you're on, you'd like him.
Yep.
Chris Mellon, he's the guy that has a lot of ties because he was a deputy secretary. His title's longer than that, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
So he has those connections. I talked to of course, the New York Times, get it all out there. And there we go, folks. It just happens.
Well, people complain about it, but this is one step closer, man. It's not happening
You're true.
very fast.
It's true, but I used to think this all was going to go a lot faster, but
everybody
it's
does,
not
man.
looking-
No, nothing goes as quick as we want it to, Dan.
End of the world. Maybe if you said that asteroid hits.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. 2020 giant asteroid.
So I got a couple. He was on. Okay, Luis Elizondo was on the Stars and Straight podcast. He kind of drones on a little bit here. I think this is a 2.5 minute clip. Stick with it because there's some decent stuff in here where he says it could be extraterrestrial.
People ask me all the time, what do you think? And my response has always been, it doesn't matter what I think. My job as an investigator is simply to collect the truth and speak the truth. I collect the evidence and I present it to the jury. In this case, you're the jury. The American people are the jury. Does this mean that...
Think about that for a minute. The American people are the jury. It doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah, no.
This is all about just putting this show on for the public to get them acclimated to it.
Sure,
that's all. It is.
You gotta worry a little bit about mob mentality in with that approach. But
the jury, does this mean that there isn't a country out there that has somehow to manage to leapfrog ahead of us over the last 20 years and has remained a complete and total secret out of the eyes of the U.S.? Sure, but then can you imagine what an intelligence failure that would be, right? That would probably be historically one of the worst intelligence failures ever for any country of all time.
So right off,
so it's really unlikely it's
or they
something
know
that
about
is
it, but just we don't because it's too compartmentalized. Maybe they.
But
maybe,
that's what's interesting about this. He's really putting out there that no.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Adversarial, but it's still a possibility. Now, the question is it extraterrestrial? Well, what does that mean? I've said before, this is a huge universe we live in, but we're now learning through quantum physics. You had the old paradigm of Newtonian physics, and then you had Einstein come along and provide his relativity, and that time and space is really kind of flexible and connected. And now you have this new type of physics called quantum mechanics. And although they seem diametrically opposed to each other, they all, for what they do, they answer very succinctly some of the mysteries of the universe. So is something from outer space? Well, could be, but it could be something else. I always say to people, it could be from outer space, inner space, or even the space in between. There may be options there we've never even considered, right? So we say, well, if it's not U.S. technology and it's not adversarial technology, foreign technology, it must be from outer space. Not necessarily. There's a whole range of what ifs that lie. It's not just A, B, or C. I think you have an A, B choice, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and maybe even a combination of some of those. So it's hard to think about it that way. And I know it's very tempting for me to offer an opinion, but at the end of the day, I think it would be a disservice for me to do that. The one thing we learn early on is you can be absolutely sure of something and still be absolutely wrong. So, I don't want to be in that position to offer an opinion because that opinion is an uninformed. I realize that my opinion, although I've been exposed to a lot of stuff, I still don't have all the data and facts. It's an uninformed opinion, and it would not be prudent for me to offer what Lou Elizondo thinks, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what Lou Elizondo thinks. What matters is what you think.
It matters what you think.
Yeah, well, what you and I think, Dan, doesn't make it true.
No, this is Luis Elizondo's job. It's his job to make the public think on their own and get the UFO idea in their head, the alien idea.
Yep.
That's what his job is.
But over and over and over, the public has not proven to be critical thinkers.
Oh yeah,
that's the problem. But I see what they're doing. I see what they're doing. I get it. I think they're giving too much faith in humanity to come up with the right conclusion.
Right. Yeah, and there was another clip about him. He talked about the government flip-flopping on this whole story. I won't play that clip. This show's been going on quite a while. But there was a question in the chat that said how close we were to the riots in Kenosha. No, we're actually on the other side of the state there, Terry. Oh, that's our mod. Terry. She joined us. She never got the notifications for this live show for like the last few times.
Yeah.
So I told her when we were gonna go live again. So yeah, so we're safe over here on this side. Nothing's been too
Terry's
crazy.
a girl?
Yes, I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh God,
I'm pretty sure it's a girl.
Terry was a guy this whole time. Oh boy, okay. Well, anyway, I digress. Kenosha's on the other side of the state. What, Dan? Maybe 3.5 hours east. If we were to drive there, maybe 4 hours, at least 4.
Yeah, Milwaukee's 4 hours.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. So it's 3.5 hours from where I'm at. I'm about 45 minutes away from you right now.
Okay.
So yeah, I drive, people don't realize I drive like 45 minutes one way just to come out and spew my thoughts on the internet.
So
with
is your new place closer or farther away?
Further away.
Further away.
By like 7 minutes. Yeah.
8 inches.
8 inches.
So yeah, thank you guys for joining us in the chat. There are 36 of you up now. That's pretty cool. Always like to see you guys and enjoying everything. It got a little chilly here in Wisconsin these last couple of days. At least we didn't get any snow. They had the snow out in Colorado, but we were sticking pretty good as far as that. But we got down to 40s and 50s.
Yeah, there was frost warnings. Yeah, an hour and a half, 2 hours north of here. So
yeah, if you guys have any topic suggestions, again, we're gonna do.
So Terry's a guy, just so you know.
Oh, my bad.
Because he spells it with a Y, not an I.
There we go.
Yep. Dan's feeling very ashamed of some of the thoughts that he's had, Terry. I'm just kidding.
I think that sounds pretty good.
So yeah, we got Pete and I are going to film a couple episodes ahead here, and if you guys have any topic suggestions, drop those into the comments sections below. I'll keep those on tabs, and it's always nice to refer to those if we ever get stuck or need a little guidance on what topics to cover.
Yeah. And I do want to say, visual thinker, be safe out there, man. You are in a tough spot, so just be safe, be smart, and I'll send some good vibes your way.
Oh, between the pandemic, the riots.
They're outside of Portland, is what I gathered from the chat. So anyway,
yeah, it's kind of bad right now.
Yep.
You guys can also call in on our voicemail 1-256-510-5234 1-256-510-K2D4. Leave a message on there. It's been a while. We haven't had any to record on here for people. It's always good to hear your voice.
Yeah, just say hello if anything.
Right.
It is kind of fun to play.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be anything serious. I mean, just say
Terry, yell at Dan for
say like what's going on in your area, and we'll just keep it to a minute or less, of course, and we'll play the clip on the show. Again, these are queued up, so it's gonna happen. If you record one now, you're probably not gonna hear it for a month and a half later. So just heads up there. But
yeah, don't be disappointed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are signing off, and we'll see you guys later.
Yeah,
Stay
take
safe.
care. You guys are great.